The northern travel season is now well underway, and I'm taking a couple days to rest and recuperate from my disaster on the mountain. So I figured I'd get out a couple of these videos you guys have been requesting, being the gear that I use. This video is going to be all about film gear, and I'm going to do a video as well about adventure gear. So let's jump right into it and start off with cameras. You guys are being recorded on a Panasonic Lumix GH4 with a Rode Video Micro for a microphone. It's a great camera, but it has its limitations. I love it for anything vlog style because it has the flip around screen, so I can make sure that my framing and focus is good. Other than that, I don't use that camera a whole lot. My other camera for filming anything we'll call cinematic is the Sony a6500. This camera is amazing for what it is, especially being a crop sensor. This is APS-C, so it's really surprisingly good in low light. The only big complaint I have with Sony is the battery life. That's why I have this battery bank on the bottom of it. The microphone that's on here came with my mom's Canon camera, and she only shoots photo, so I put it on this camera. I have a full range of lenses actually for both of these cameras. The one that's on the Lumix right now is equivalent to your 24-105 for a full frame camera, but that's actually micro four thirds. I also have a telephoto lens. It never gets used, to be honest. This camera here currently has an f4 16-70 APS-C, and I have a 55-210. Both of these are really nice lenses. Both of the lenses are stabilized as well as in-body stabilization with the camera. So those are my two main cameras for when I'm shooting anything documentary style. If we rewind a few years, this was my camera. This is a Canon XA20. Honestly, this is an awesome camera. I love this thing. It just doesn't do the cinematic shooting that I'm looking for anymore, but it's a really powerful little camera. 2 different tracks of audio, XLR inputs. You can take the handle off to make it more streamlined, and one of the really neat features is that it actually has infrared. So I used to use this in mine shafts and basements and things like that. So really neat little camera, very beginner friendly, but a little bit limited to the direction that I'm going now. Let's get over to the GoPros. I have a small collection of GoPros. My main GoPro is now the GoPro 9. This is a great camera. GoPros are great action cameras. They're very limited if you're wanting to shoot anything with dynamic range or depth of field. But the GoPro 9 and 10 have horizon leveling, great image stabilization, and this camera lives on the JAWS clamp. I can clamp this all over the place, and it's never fallen off, which is awesome. I also have the GoPro 7 and 8. You'll notice I have these clamped all over the boat when I'm out on the ocean. And then I also have the GoPro 3 Plus. This is going back a lot of years, but I keep it because this is the camera that I can really risk and not worry about. It's the one that gets sent down in crab traps to the bottom of the ocean or driven over by the motorhome. So those are kind of my action cameras. I also have, for the GoPro, this underwater housing and this neutral buoyancy handle. This is great for when I'm down freediving or spearfishing because you can go super deep with the underwater housing. And I went with the neutral buoyancy handle because if you're 30 feet down the water column at 100 feet of depth and you drop your camera, it's not going to float up to the top. It's also not going to sink to the bottom. You can just grab it and keep going with your shoot. Now, a question that I get like every video: what drone do I use? So for years I was using the DJI Phantom 3 Standard. It was a great drone back in the day. I decided to upgrade this year right before going to Mexico, and I went with the DJI Mavic Mini 2. This has its limitations. For wind, you cannot do much in wind, especially I like to do those real close drone shots when you're going close to something, low and slow. With wind, you can see a lot of movement. If you're doing those big landscape shots, it doesn't really matter as much. The only other downfall with this, but to me was not an issue, is it only has sensors on the bottom, so you can fly this into objects, which I have, but I don't want a drone full of sensors because then you can't get those real close shots to objects. So that's my drone, and I love this thing. So let's talk about some more audio. If I'm interviewing somebody, these are the lav mics that I use. These are made by Sony UTX-B2. These were not cheap. I think they were like $600 or $800 for the microphones, but I've had them for, I don't know, probably 6 or 7 years now, and they have been through all kinds of weather. Same with the cameras. Really, really durable. So no complaints with these lav mics at all. When I first was doing the podcast, I was using this little Samson Meteor mic, which is great. It's a great little microphone, but I had to upgrade when I started interviewing people for the podcast. So now I have this. This is just like a podcast kit, pretty much, that you can get on Amazon. The mics are made by a company called Tonor, T-O-N-O-R. And then, let me put this one back here. And then this little mixer here. So I have 2 of these mics on boom arms. And I'm really happy with that so far. Got to interview a few different people on the podcast, and the quality has come out really, really nice. Let's talk about mounts. So for tripods, I always have this little thing. I think this is called a Gorilla mount. And it's great because I like to shoot those really low shots because it's an angle that you rarely see with the human eye. So if I can get a really nice low shot with something in focus and then the motorhome going off in the background, that's neat. And I love the Gorilla Pod because you can just slam it down wherever. It has the ball head on top, so then you can level your camera and you're off and going. If you're getting into video, you do need to get yourself a tripod with a fluid head. I always take the handles off my tripod. You'll notice that. Just easier to use, lighter weight, especially when you're out hiking. So this is my nicer of the 2 tripods, but it is still a cheapy tripod. Honestly, I buy cheap equipment because I'm not a big production team. I am self-funded, and I can make this cheap stuff work. For example, the tripod you guys are sitting on right now is the one I almost always use. It's made by a company called Neewer. That tripod is the Neewer N555, and they make super affordable equipment. It's also really durable, and it does the job. This slider here, also made by Neewer. I don't use the slider as much anymore because I can duplicate most slide shots better with a tripod than I can with a slider. And when you're out adventure filmmaking, the lighter your bag is, the better. So that's kind of my mounts. Actually, there's one more here. This is a really neat one. This is called well, I don't know what it's actually called, like an egg timer time lapse thing. That's what I'll call it. But it's the internals of an egg timer with I just have a GoPro mount on here right now, but it has a tripod mount on the top and bottom. So what it does, you turn it like that, and then you have an hour for it to spin. And rarely do I want 360 degrees, but if I can get a 90-degree spin on a shot, that's really cool for a time lapse. Eggs are done. So that's a neat little thing. I think for like $14, you can get a pack of 2 of these on Amazon, as opposed to the motorized ones can be 100 to several hundred. I also have a gimbal. There's a tractor passing right now, so it's going to be a little bit noisy for a moment. Filming in the north, I tell you. This is my gimbal. It's made by a company called Pilotfly. This is the H2. Honestly, this does not get used very often. Well, to be completely honest, I've only used it twice. Coincidentally, they were both car videos. I used it at the 1950s junkyard video, and then I used it again more recently at the car collection. I'm really happy with this thing. I just don't really have a whole lot of opportunities where I really need a gimbal. I'm shooting most of the time on a tripod. Where's this gonna go? Okay, that's it for mounts and lenses and audio. Lighting. I rarely actually use lighting. I do carry headlamps and stuff like that, but you need a really bright light to really help with a camera. If I'm filming in here, like right now, I just have your cheapy like TikTok style ring light. That's pretty much it for lighting for me. Another really important piece of equipment that I carry is this battery bank. This is made by a company called Aimtom, and this will charge any of my cameras. It'll charge and run the laptop. It can do AC and DC power. This comes on all kinds of adventures. It's pretty heavy, but most of the time if I'm in the boat or something like that, it can just go in a bag. And that keeps all of my cameras, the drone, everything fully charged while I'm not at the motorhome. Now, bags. This is a big one and an important one. This is my main bag. It's still very dirty from yesterday's adventure, or 2 days ago, I guess, up on the mountain. This is made by Pelican. It's come all around the world with me. This is completely watertight, crush-proof, everything. The top of this is not completely waterproof, but it can get very, very, very wet before your things inside get wet. This has been an amazing bag. I've had it for years. It's not the most comfortable bag, I'll be honest. It's pretty bulky and cumbersome for being out hiking, but if I'm going out on the ocean or I need to really protect a camera, that bag is coming with me. If it's a beautiful day and I want to be hiking really light, I bring this bag with me. This is a great little one by a company called Benro. Never heard of them before outside of this bag. I bought this in Dubai, and it's been also in a lot of places of the world with me. Like most camera bags, you can access your camera from the back, keeps everything safe, and then it has a compartment on top and then another one on the front. It is not waterproof, but the material it's made out of it's waterproof material, but you can't put it underwater or anything like that. And finally, this is not a sponsored thing or anything, but this company recently sent me this. This was sitting in Williams Lake when I got home. It is another camera backpack. I can't wait to dive into this thing. I've watched some reviews online, and it looks like a really nice bag. And he just reached out, was a fan of the channel, and wanted to send me his bag, so I can't wait to try this for him. Now, post-production. Everything I make gets edited on a 2019 MacBook Pro fully spec'd. This is a powerhouse of a computer. If I could swing it, I would rather go with an iMac. It's less money for a way more powerful computer, but I'm on the move all the time. So that's pretty much my setup. And if you guys have any other questions, please drop a comment down below. And the next In Your Bag video is going to be all about adventure gear. Thanks for watching, everybody.